Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com.
Hey now, today we're going to take a look at Spit It Out from R&R Games. This is a light party game where you and the other players, either in teams or solo, are trying to answer questions. And they're very simple questions like name a type of vegetable, name an extreme sport, name like a car manufacturer or something like that. Just very, very general, basic questions. The catch is, well, a couple of catches. You have to answer these questions very, very quickly, but also every question has to be incorrect except for two of them, or perhaps one of them. Let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the game is played. It's very simple. Then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think. Alright, this is the sum total of the components that come in Spit It Out. You have a 30-second timer, you have two 6-sided dice, you have a scoring pad. Now, you don't even have to keep scoring this game if you don't want to. I think the game is equally as fun if you don't. But if you choose to, you can either have each player play as an island. They just everyone's out for points for themselves, or you can play in teams. It's entirely up to you, and you can set however many rounds you want to go as well. But then you also have all of the questions. You have quite a few questions here, and they are double-sided. It tells you on it where you draw them from and where you discard them from, for convenience sake, I guess. And here's how this is going to work. When it's your turn, you are the spitter. That means you are the person who is answering the questions. The person to your left or your opposite teammate, or however you choose to do it with the scoring, is going to be the reader. They are going to draw 6 cards from the deck of cards, and you as the spitter are going to roll the two 6-sided dice. Now, those two numbers that come up on the dice indicate the questions of the 6 that your reader just drew that you must answer correctly. Every other question, except in this case 1 and 6, must be answered incorrectly, which is the normal way to do things in this game. Now, it is possible for you to roll doubles, and that's actually lucky for you. If you roll doubles on the two 6-sided dice, that means only that one question must be answered correctly. All the other ones are incorrectly, so it makes things a little bit easier on you. So once you've rolled the dice to determine which numbers you must answer correctly, the reader is going to say, are you ready? Ready? Okay. Boom. Flip the timer, and you have 30 seconds, and the reader, even if they're on your opposite team, must read the question succinctly, but also quickly because, again, time is running out. So what and how this would work, I will say, I'm the reader. Picture I'm playing both parts. I'm the reader. So name a musical instrument without strings. And then I, as a spitter, might say, and I have to answer this one correctly. So I would say tuba. So then it's, what was Cinderella's shoe made out of? This one I have to answer incorrectly. So I would say wood. And then we have, what did Van Gogh cut off? And I would say, I'm just going to go for it, penis. And then what is the opposite of goofy? I would say this one has to be, let's see, the opposite of goofy would be silly, because that one's have to be incorrectly. Who works in a school? I would say a construction worker. And then the number 6 one has to be correct. So it's like, what is another word for funny? And I'll say silly again. All right, so that was just an example play, because what would happen is the timer ran out a long time ago. I, as a spitter, have to answer things much, much faster than that. You've only got that 30 seconds in order to, and you also have to keep track of which ones you're supposed to be answering correctly, so it's much more difficult than I might have just made it seem. Every time that you answer one correct, let's say properly, which is to say you answered it correctly or incorrectly when you were supposed to, that counts as a point for you. The other players can be the judge about whether or not you answer something in the proper way. For instance, you must still answer something within the ballpark or within the same category as what it applies. So for instance, let's go back to the what was Cinderella's shoe made out of? Now, I said wood, which is another type of material or resource, so that makes sense. It's not the right answer, but it makes sense. If I had said bacon, Cinderella's shoe is made of bacon, that's not correct. I mean, it's not correct, obviously, but it's also not the proper way to answer the question because it's not even in the ballpark. The same way I couldn't say, what did Van Gogh cut off? And say, a tree. You know, you can't just say nonsense. It has to be something that would make sense at least even if you have to answer it incorrectly. So again, then a play will go to the next person. Someone else is going to be the reader for that next spitter, and then you just have to grab 6 questions, read them as quickly as possible, answer 2 of. See, there's doubles right there. 1 or 2 questions correctly and try to get the most points possible. That's really all there is to the game. That is Spit It Out. Let's get to my final thoughts. Even amongst party games, Spit It Out is very, very light. But I think that's to its benefit. I mean, you can bust this game out, have it up and running in less than 5 minutes, even with a large group of people. I do think that it works better with maybe 4 to 6 people, but you can go more if you really want to. Even in whether it's solo or teams, I think it works pretty well. It doesn't really matter. In fact, I would make an argument that scoring in this game is fairly irrelevant. You may want, much like with games like Cards Against Humanity, just do it, to have the experience. And the game can be a lot of fun and be very, sometimes intentionally or unintentionally hilarious. Well, always intentionally hilarious. I mean, that's the whole thing about this game, is that you're forcing people to think outside of the box, to sort of break their brain temporarily in a way, to answer very simple questions incorrectly. And that is very, very intriguing to me, because you have to resist that knee-jerk reaction to spit out. I mean, hey, that's the name of the game. Spit out the correct answer, because, hey, look, we're gamers. We're the most susceptible to doing things like that and showing off our knowledge. That's just, it's second nature to a lot of people. When someone asks you something very simple, it's like, oh, well, I know that. Well, now you kind of don't want to know it. Not exactly anyways. And that's the other catch to the game, is that you have to answer incorrectly, but within the same kind of category. So if someone asks you, the question is, name a type of vegetable, you can't just say, car. Because it's just not going to work that way. And that can be frustrating for people in the beginning, but sort of figuring out how to game the system and make it work for you, and setting up your brain in a routine in order to answer the questions incorrectly and sometimes correctly, is a pretty interesting aspect of the game. Now, that actually kind of leads into what I think is the biggest problem with the game, and that's that as you continue to play the game, and this is a very fast game, you can go through a number of rounds, a lot of gameplay can be had in like a half hour of play. As you continue to play, you get better and better and better at it, and it's almost like this game is a puzzle, because everyone is shooting for that perfect score, right? And eventually, it's not too hard to get. You just have to train your brain in that particular way. And I feel like once you do that, the game has very diminishing returns at that point. Almost no solid returns at that point. In other words, this game gets really old really fast, which is a shame, because it is a lot of fun. But for me personally, I just don't get enough out of it for what the game's content is. Despite how, I mean, there is a lot of game in the small box with what you get there, but it will wear itself out really, really quickly. You have to be constantly playing with new people and almost enjoying watching them suffer for their first 3 rounds, trying to get out the incorrect answers and then sometimes the right answers. That's a lot of fun at first. It's a lot of fun when you're doing it, but once everyone gets into the rhythm and gets really good at it, it really, really gets kind of dull, which is a shame. But nevertheless, for what it's worth, for the time that you get it in the beginning, it is quite a lot of fun. And I do recommend trying it. Maybe your mileage will vary. That is Spit It Out from R&R Games.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.